When you've been lying about something for so long, it becomes second nature. You think you're gonna get the truth in a town like this? When you've been lying about something for so long, it becomes second nature.
Do you see the beauty of it? The inevitability. You rise, only to fall. You, Avengers, you are my meteor, my swift and terrible sword, and the earth will crack with the weight of your failure. Purge me from your computers, turn my own flesh against me. It means nothing. When the dust settles, the only thing living in this world will be metal.
You remember me?
How you doing tonight?
Doing well, officer.
Can I see your driver's license, registration, and insurance, please?
Of course. My license is right here, my wallet. It's all right, son. You remember the night in July?
Hands up!
Hey! Wait! Put the phone down! Put that phone! Sir, it's a phone! It's a cell phone! It's just a cell phone! You knew he was unarmed.
Get to the car and put your hands in the air! Officer, please, he's just a kid!
You pointed your gun at him. Okay, get out of the car, son. Easy. You pulled the trigger.
Put the phone away! Put the phone away!
The grand jury determined that no probable cause exists to file any charges against Officer Randall.
This is my son. This is my little boy. You took that from me. The world took that from me. Today we make that right. Hear me when I say this, because I'm only going to say it once. Don't stop filming.
You should just give up now.
Why are we the only people in this country that are expected to do things without violence?
I didn't mean to kill your son!
What you did.
I did what I was trying to do!
I just want justice. That's all I want. This is your jury. The deciders of your fate. Today, you will be tried for the murder of my son. You scared? Are you afraid?
So begins the end.
Now, all you black folks, I suggest you get away from all these white folks. Not you, Steve. You're right where you belong.
So, we are to show you that the remnants were not supposed to marry from any nation besides their own people, which a lot of them have not done so because they do not follow after the commandments of the Creator and are led by the wicked, learned elders of Zion who run the world with the Vatican today and help white supremacy to succeed so that they can have power with Satan, have made it that the remnants do not know their history. So likewise, because this was a commandment which was given to the remnant, we are trying to show you why the Oriental people with the slant eye look, always marry from their own people, because they of lineage were connected to the remnant. They share a common ancestry and lineage. So they understood this. So that is why till today, you find out that a lot of Orientals marry only Orientals. Very rare before you find an Oriental marrying someone that is not Oriental. As we have explained, evil gives forth to evil, good gives forth to good. And the only people who can give birth to good are the remnants. And we have explained that if anybody follows after the commandments of the Creator, in his or her origin of history or ancestry, they have a remnant in it. That is why they are able to go after the commandments and keep the commandments of the Creator. So that means that you as a person, if you believe in the commandments of the Creator and you're following after it and keeping it, then you have to marry someone who is doing the same thing. Otherwise, what happened with Lot and his wife is going to be the same thing that's going to happen to you. And remember, we are at the end of days. So that's why, for example, in Matthew chapter number 24, the Creator says, there shall be two in the field and one person will be taken away for destruction and the other person left, right? Because a lot of people are in marriages that they are not supposed to be with albinos, anybody with straight hair, the scum of the earth, or any other wicked person who's black. So that is what's going to happen, because a lot of people will not stick to this commandment. So that's why in the Oriental states, you find out that it is very common for the Oriental to marry an Oriental because of this knowledge, because of this commandment. The remnants also keep this commandment for those who are very proud of their history, even though they do not know who they are, right? They still follow after these commandments and marry only women from their own tribes. But the funny thing is this, in the remnant, you find out that a lot of women marry outside of the remnant ethnicity. Why is that? Because, as we have explained, a woman was supposed to be given in marriage by her parents. So hear us now. A woman was supposed to be given into marriage by her father. So if her father is not doing the commandments of the Creator, the daughter that she has will be doing what the world, what white supremacy, albino supremacy, what feminism tells her, and she will marry anybody she damn well chooses. So that is what usually happens with women. If the father is not following the commandments of the Creator, the daughter will not. She will do as she pleases. So the reason why a lot of remnant women of that ethnicity tend to marry outside is because if their own father is not keeping the commandments of the Creator, the daughter is not going to do that. She's just going to go and fall in love, because we've been made to believe in today's enlightenment of feminism as preached that you have to love the person that you are before you marry them. Well, given that's true, but if people follow after the commandments of the Creator, they will love each other. That is the truth. They will understand the real definition of love and not that moody feeling that you have for like a couple of years and then after that it dies out. So the commandments make you to have real, genuine love and not the worldly love of feelings, emotions and all that, because it will die out if you're not doing the commandments of the Creator. That is what happens. So if a father is not doing the commandments of the Creator, the daughter will not, all right, follow after and will marry anybody she damn well chooses. And that is what happens with the remnant women, because the father is not doing it. So the daughter will pick up feminism, which is satanism, and just marry anybody she damn well chooses. And what happens? They are all going to the lake of fire, because it was a commandment strictly for the remnants not to marry outside of their ethnicity. And one thing that you have to understand about marriage is this, because a lot of people who say they are married today are not really married, because they are married under albino supremacist laws, which are the laws of Satan. Marriage in the Bible, in scriptures, in the true scriptures of the Creator, was that a man pays a bride price to the father of the bride, okay? And consummates the marriage by following all the traditions and norms and cultures of the bride, and then he takes his wife home. In today's marriages all around the world, because of satanism, because of feminism, a lot of people have been made to believe that paying a bride price is more like buying a woman. All right? That's the mentality they've received. But paying the bride price is showing respect. You're not buying anybody, because you can't buy any human being in this world. It's showing respect and keeping the commandments of the Creator. So, but feminism, which is satanism, has indulged into the mindset of people, which has been preached by the scum of the earth, albinos, anybody with straight hair, the dirtiest smelling people in the whole entire world, that this should not be done away with. Why? Because the woman's rights is being trampled upon. So as long as you have not paid a bride price and you went to a court of law, a court of Satan, and signed a marriage certificate, in the eyes of the Creator, you're not married. This is the obvious truth. You haven't paid your bride price. You haven't done due diligence. So a lot of people who think they are married are really not. That's why if you notice in Western society, there is lots and lots and lots of divorces, because they were not even married in the first place. But if you go to societies which are still traditional, there are a lot of marriages which are succeeding. But now Satan is breaking that tradition, because in those traditional societies which exist mostly in Africa, Satanism and feminism is being preached at an all-time high. So the children of Satan, all right, will no longer keep those traditions, because they all want to be westernized. They want all to be like the sorcerers and witches and wizards and the homosexual hip-hop artists that they watch on TV. So all tradition and culture is being eroded away for feminism, Satanism to succeed in Africa. And dumb Africans who don't even know what's going on and what their people are actually doing are all falling for it. And we'll get into that part later. So a lot of people who are married are really not married, according to what the Creator talks about in marriage. Because remember, the standard for the way things are, the order of things, if you want to find it, is in the book of Genesis. When Abraham sent his servant to go find a wife, even though it's written in there and made to believe that Isaac married his cousin, because these wicked, abominable people, albinos, anybody with straight hair, the scum of the earth, always want to introduce inbreeding into everything. They rewrote the Bible and made us believe that Abraham sent his servant to go and marry Rebecca for his son Isaac, and that they were cousins. This is terrible. You will find this in almost any literature around so-called fake Jewish scum of the earth albinos, anybody with straight hair marriages who claim to be Jews. Because in the first place, the word Jew is a new way of saying things. It was said use. because the letter J is a new construction of the Farsi language of India, of Hinduism. And let's show you that so it doesn't just look like we're talking, that they have made us believe that cousin marriages is what the remnant practice, which is inbreeding. They rewrote that into the scriptures. It never existed. In actual history, Rebecca was never a cousin or related to Abraham. So on this particular article, we have left you a website for you to see and you can read, because we want to show you how the scum of the earth, the cursed people which the Creator cursed, all right, have rewritten scriptures in such a way to fit their inbreeding. Because the scum of the earth, albinos, India, have been inbreeding for donkey generations. It's a custom, it's a culture. That's why if you watch a lot of Indian movies, you see this inbreeding going on, the love for cousins, and then they also pass this into Oriental society. That's why if you watch a lot of kung fu movies of the ancient past, you'll see how they say, you kill my sister, you kill my brother. So much love and affection for a sister and brother, because they took this inbreeding practice in the Ottoman Empire and took it into the Oriental states and gave them the practice of Buddhism or Buddhism as a religion. So that's why you will notice in all these movies of Indian movies and Oriental movies, ancient movies, you always notice this strange love affair between brothers, sisters, and cousins, because it's all inbreeding shown in the open. And when they came into the Vatican, they rewrote the scripture and introduced inbreeding into everything. So as you can see here, right here, let's first of all show you that in the typical remnant marriage, a bride price has to be paid. Otherwise, you're not considered to have married that woman. And this is a tradition and culture that is still practiced today among the remnant. If a man has taken a wife and has not yet paid the bride price, the parents of the child will keep on reminding him that he has to come and do his due duties and pay the bride price. And some of them have turned the practice of paying bride price into something like, it looks like you're going to buy some sort of like maybe Bugatti Veyron or whatsoever. Because wickedness is very much still in practice in the remnant for those who do not do the commandments of the Creator. And as we've explained, once a man does not do the commandments of the Creator, the daughters can choose to marry anybody. And that's why in most cases, in some cases, all right, the remnant women marry outside of the remnant because the parents are not doing the commandments. And this goes for everybody else in the world. If your dad is not doing the commandments of the Creator, the daughter is not going to do it. She's going to believe everything else but the truth. So getting back to this particular scripture to show you how the albino scum of the earth changed and put inbreeding into every aspect of the Bible for us to believe that marrying your cousin was okay. Now, first of all, let's show you that the bride price had to be paid. It says here, in order to marry a girl, a man would give her father a gift called mohar in Hebrew, which is some bullshit. But for you, just take it to be more at this point in time because you're not interested in knowing the real language of the remnant. It says that would seal the betrothal between the bride and husband to be. Now, betrothal is not really the correct word, all right, for engaging a woman. The word is engagement, not betrothal. But there is a reason why these people change words, and people do not know the reason why. There is no such thing as a betrothal. The actual meaning of the word betrothal, and let me explain it so you understand it clearly, because the ancient practice of the scum of the earth Indians was this. It's not so much practiced now, but the genetics are still there. If a man brought home a wife, the wife was to sleep with the man and to sleep with his brother and members of their own family. This is ancient scum of the earth Indian albinos, anybody with straight hair practice. that a man brings home a wife and his brothers had to sleep with them. This is exactly what happened if you ever read in the scriptures about the story of Jacob and Dinah. Dinah was a daughter of Jacob, and when she went into the city, a man saw her, took her and slept with her, and made all his brothers to sleep with her. So that's why the remnant went in and killed every one of them, because that is an abomination. That is inbreeding. We'll get into that later, but for now I want you to remember that story. So the very word betrothal, in the real meaning of the language itself, meant that a woman slept with brothers and bred children for them, which was a custom of the smelly ancient Indians. The scum of the earth, albinos, anybody with straight hair, who are all the people claim to be the elite today in the world. So this is where the word betrothal comes from. So when you hear that word betrothed in the Bible, know that it's fabricated in to impute the culture of inbreeding as practiced by the albinos, anybody with straight hair, scum of the earth. That is why all of them are filled with demons, because as we have explained, every time you break natural order, what you have is the power of Satan and the power of demons. That is why they are all wicked, and they all look down on black people. They are senile. For you to understand that these people change words, let's continue reading this statement to see how marriage was consummated between a man and a woman in the remnant. It says, in order to marry a girl, a man would give her father a gift that would seal the engagement. This word is not betrothal, it's engagement between the bride and husband to be. Engagement was a much firmer commitment than today's engagement. So what is trying to explain to you right now, that the way people marry today is not what was practiced earlier. So, but what you should take from this article is that you should understand that in marriages, according to the Creator, right, for you to be married and be recognized as being married, a bride price had to be paid. So it continues saying, though some people think of the betrothal gift as a purchase price, this is inaccurate, because it's not a purchase price. You're just showing respect, all right? You're just making it legal. So it's more like a legal document. But today that legality has been paid, because when you sign court documents for marriage today, you pay a price to the court fees for the paper. So the wicked albino scum of the earth, anybody with straight hair, have now said that they are the ones consummating your marriage. They now sit in place of the Creator. So instead of giving the money and the bride price to the father, they now give it to the state. So continue reading here. We just want to show you that these people changed everything, because the very first commandment which they changed, which when you read, it says, thou shalt have no other gods, all right, did not really say that. That was not the first commandment. The first commandment said, I am your Creator, and you shall not inbreed. Because people do not understand this. The greatest problem in the world today, which has caused humanity to be in the way it is, which causes people to be sick, is inbreeding and crossbreeding. That is the truth. Because the food that we're eating has all been inbred or crossbred. They are not in the natural state that the Creator made, and we'll show you that later. So we are all eating inbred food, having inbred relationships with the swine of the earth, albinos, anybody with straight hair that we should stay clear of, and that is making us sick. This is the truth. So this is why the commandments were changed by the scum of the earth, albinos, anybody with straight hair, the children of Satan. Because the first commandment says, I am the Creator, and cursed is any one of you who shall inbreed. You shall not inbreed with members of your own family. That was the commandments, the first one. So they cut it off and just gave us, you shall have no other gods before me, as the first commandment. Because if those commandments were left and the scriptures were given to us, black people reading that first commandment that says, I am the creator, and you shall not inbreed with members of your own family. Cursed is anyone who does so, because anyone who does so is cursed of the creator. That's why albinos, anybody with straight hair, are cursed, and we are letting you know that they are cursed. And we'll get into their own history and origins before India for you to know that. But for now, stay with this. If the scriptures were left as is, and this scum of the earth albinos, anybody with straight hair, took that Bible and read to you the first commandment, which says, I am the creator, all right? And you shall not inbreed with members of your own family. Black people will know that the albino standing in front of them comes from inbreeding. So they had to cut it out. Do you understand what's going on now? And because they had to cut it out, they now had to impute inbreeding into every scripture, such that the mentality of people would think that it's okay to marry your cousins. Black people would think that, and the cover would serve for us not to know that albinos, anybody with straight hair, are the cursed people of the creator, because they come from the origins of inbreeding, procreating with members of your same family. So that is why they imputed all of this into scripture and gave us the Bible today, which is a concept which comes from Hinduism. And the word Hindu means India. If you spell Hindu, the reason why you pronounce it Hindu is because of the H. If you take out the H, what do you have? You have Nindu, which is India, from the Indus Valley. Same word. So let's read now. It says, biblical texts make clear that marriages between cousins were strongly preferred. This is a lie. This is the lie from the pits of hell told by the albinos, anybody with straight hair. Evil, wicked people, cursed of the earth by the creator, because they changed the commandments, the first commandments, and wrote into scriptures everything to support it by making us believe that Abraham made his son Isaac to marry his cousin in Rebecca. This is terrible. All right, let's continue on now. So let's still read and show you why the remnants were not supposed to marry from anybody outside of their own ethnicity, and why the Orientals have kept this commandment for so long, even upon the fact that the albinos, anybody with straight hair, scum of the earth people from India, of which all albinos, anybody with straight hair comes from, brought about inbreeding to them and has made Orientals today to be albinic. So they are technically accounted for as being one and the same people now, because now they have lost their tradition, lost their culture, and practice Hinduism, an Indian religion, in Buddhism, or being a Buddhist. So we're reading from Deuteronomy chapter number 7, and that will show right here. And we're reading from verse number 1, and it says, and when the Lord thy God shall bring thee into the land into which thou goest to possess it, and shall remove great nations from before thee, the Hittite, the Girgashite, the Amorite, and Kenite, and Perizzite, and Evite, and Jebusite, 7 nations numerous and stronger than you. This actual particular verse was not so. It included the so-called people who are the scum of the earth today, albinos, anybody with straight hair, also in here, which has been removed. They sat down and rewrote this particular portion and removed themselves from it, but they are still in scripture, as we have explained. If you can go read in the book of Esther, you will see the word India. But they changed words so that we would not know that there was an ancient name which the Indians bore in scripture. And we're going to show you all that today to be revealed, because this is the Legends of Roll Call, the deconstruction and destruction of all legends. So continue reading. It says, and the Lord thy God shall deliver them into thy hands, then thou shalt smite them, thou shalt utterly destroy them, thou shalt not make a covenant with them, neither shall ye pity them. You see that? The Creator said that the remnant should have no contact whatsoever with the scum of the earth, albinos, which they have removed from this, but we'll show you later on. Said you shall have no pity on them, because albinos have no pity on black people. Take a look, people. Look at all the organizations that they are working in. It's filled with albinos, no black people. Remember what we said. Your actions tells you who you are. Forget about what they say. Look at what they do. They do not like black people. You have to come to that knowledge. Black people know this, but they keep on being deceived by the words. Even the ones that are married and procreating with black people, they do not like you. Because if they did, they would go to all the organizations and say, let us hire 50% black people in this organization. How can we say that we are not racist, but yet the organizations and companies and workforce is filled with only albinos, as if they are the only ones existing in America? They have never done so. Let's continue reading. It says, neither shall you contract marriages with them. Thou shalt not give your daughter to his son, and you shall not take his daughter to thy son. For he will draw away your son from me, and he will serve other gods, and the Lord will be very angry with you, and will soon utterly destroy thee. So, the remnants were not supposed to marry. Okay? Any albinos, anybody with straight hair, scum of the earth, they were only supposed to marry from their own ethnicity. And this was the passage of the law which came into North America when the so-called miscegenation laws, which was in the South. Remember, Virginia is in the southern part. Alright? Or it's close to the southern part of America, the United States, where most Africans were immigrated into in the 1700s, as we have shown you. So this miscegenation laws was made there that they should not breed and procreate with albinos, because those Africans knew that history. But the same black people who are idiots and wicked because they support white supremacy changed those laws. So all the so-called civil rights that you know about, and great leaders like Malcolm X, the scum of the earth, okay? And other leaders like Martin Luther King, Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, and all the rest. What do you think they were doing? Civil rights was to make albinos, anybody with straight hair, to breed with black people so that white supremacy could succeed. So they could have carbon. That is why they had to remove those miscegenation laws and use the great lie of civil rights to make it happen. So that there would be crossbreeding and albinism could thrive and succeed. So Malcolm X, Reverend Al Sharpton, all the great civil rights leaders, Jesse Jackson, Martin Luther King, were all working for white supremacy. Let's continue on. So, as usual, on this segment of Legends of Roll Call, to the right of your screen, you have people from India, the country of India in Asia. On the left of your screen, you have Mexicans who claim to be the so-called original people of Mexico, but they are not, because the original Mexicans were black with woolly hair. These were all immigrated in by the Vatican in the 1800s, 1850s actually. So I want you to compare and contrast, because we've always said this. Take a good look at these people behind you, right? Take a good look at the people on the left. to the people on the right, you see that it's the same phenotype because these are one and the same. Everybody who is called a Mexican today is actually from India. Everybody who's called a Mexican who has these features, okay? They are all from India, their country of native origin. And we're going to show you with proof on this video in a book, not written by us, because the history is there as we kept it. The Vatican preserved it. Why? Because of what is going to happen to the albinos, anybody with straight hair, when they get told that they all have to go back to India. It's going to happen. So this is just one picture to show you, and let's pull up another picture. On the right of the screen, you have people from India, from the country of India. On the left, you have people from Mexico. And take a good look. Look at all the phenotypes here, right? The genetic makeup. They all look the same because these people from Mexico who claim to be Mexicans are all from India. The scum of the earth, albinos, anybody with straight hair, all of them, as we have shown you, they are all from India. They are not native to anywhere else but from India. So what happened to the Orientals? This is the question that we all have to answer before we continue on. All right? The people who look Oriental, who claim to be Native American, Native Indian, Eskimos, they are all Oriental from the Oriental states in China, Japan, Mongolia, and the rest. They are not Eskimo. They were immigrated in same time around the late 1700s. So here's what happened, and let's just break down the story so you guys can understand. So when Africans are immigrated in great numbers to help build the plantations, right, and they were paid for it, they did not pay them well. And Africans continued to build America under the payment system that they had, and they had their own chiefs who became chiefs over them, who made them to work for the Vatican, who were paid by the Vatican for them to do work. So these Africans continued building together with Black Americans. They continued building America. They built the plantations in the South, and they built the train system, which led all the way from Washington. We started in the southern states of like Georgia, Florida, South Carolina, North Carolina. They built those train tracks and trails into Washington, D.C., in the District of Virginia. From Washington, D.C., they continued to build the train tracks all the way to the West Coast towards Washington State, all right? Now, they finished building that train track, but they were not paid by the scum of the earth, albino supremacy. So Africans stopped working and said they were not going to keep on working if they were not getting paid. And some of them left the plantations, and some of them tried to find stuff on their own. All right? So what happened? Because besides the fact that the Vatican built the train station, and I have to ask you a question. Why would a train station be built from the East Coast to the West Coast? Because nobody lived on the West Coast. It was empty. Nobody lived on the West Coast because it was a desert. It had no rainfall. It was empty. Why would they build a train station to nowhere, or a trail, a railway train line to nowhere? All secrets will be revealed on the Shape of a World, because people are not interested in knowing what these people are doing. So getting back to the story, Africans stopped building, all right? Because they're not paid well by the Vatican. They owe them money. All the agreements that they were given, that they would be given landed property and money in ownership of land, okay? And money in any other agreement that they had, the Vatican, the scum of the earth, albino supremacists, renegated on every single thing. And why did they renegade on that? Because back in those days, money was gold. And gold is a finite ornament, right? That means it's a fossil. You have to go digging for it. And if you don't have it, you can't pay it. And the people will not accept anything else but gold. So the albino supremacists don't have enough money, and then they were not even sincere about paying in the first place, because they could have given the Africans their own land. Black Americans already had their own land. This is the truth. Black Americans were already had their own property. So we showed you earlier, let's pull up that picture again. So this territory is right here on the map of the United States was Black American land. As we've explained, the word Native Indian was used later. The word Native Indian was used later in the history books because the albino supremacists, after immigrating the scum of the earth albino people, right, into Mexico and then into North and South America, wanted to give them territories, ownership of lands on Black American soil. So they had to change the history by saying Native Indian, so that we would believe that Indians from India were native to North and South America. So that's why they changed these terms. So, but here, Oklahoma Territory, and let's pull out the states to show you the current states which include this territory today. So the Black American land included the states in its current naming right now, or current names that they are known today, included Oklahoma, the state of Oklahoma, the state of Kansas, the state of Nebraska, the state of Missouri, the state of Colorado, the state of North Dakota, the state of South Dakota, the state of Montana, the state of Wyoming. Now, Black Americans were also moved, all right, from certain of their dwelling places in these states to make way for the train line that was built all the way from the East Coast down to the West Coast, where nothing was out there. All right? This is a fact. But the Africans, the African immigrants, all right, which today everybody has been lumped up to be African American, which is not true. There's a clear distinction between Black Americans and African Americans, even though they have mixed them all together, but there's a clear distinction between the two. So the African immigrants which were brought in the 1700s were not paid. The properties that the Vatican, the scum of the earth albino supremacists, promised them were not given. The monies that were owed to them for working in the plantations and building the train lines were not paid. So they all stopped working. So when they all stopped working, all right, they had built the train lines from the East Coast to the West Coast. When they stopped working, the train lines that were now being built was from the United States into Canada. That is when the Africans stopped working and saying, we don't work for you guys anymore because you have not kept any of the promises that you said that you would do. And meanwhile, we're working for free. We have not been paid as you said you would pay us. All right? You're basically just giving us food and everything to go to work. But where is the money? Where is the land that you promised that you would give to us for coming down here to work so that we would live and have our own places? So they all stopped working. Together with the Black Americans who were also working. Everybody stopped working. So when this happened, the so-called scum of the earth albinos, anybody with straight hair supremacists, decided to import Orientals from Asia to help to complete the building of the train lines from United States into Canada. This is proof, and let's pull it out so you see it. So we're on a website right here, and we want you to pay particular attention. It says here, history of Chinese immigration into Canada. Why Canada? Because the Orientals were now brought in to help with completing the railway track that Africans and Black Americans stopped building from United States into Canada. As we read here, it says, there has been a significant history of Chinese immigration to Canada with the first settlement of Chinese people. Did you see that? First settlement of Chinese people in Canada being in the 1780s. 1780s. Then he goes on to say the major periods of Chinese immigration would take place from 1858 to 1923 and 1947 to the present day. So everybody who looks Oriental today just came in the 1780s when the albinos, anybody with straight hair, scum of the earth Vatican, now immigrated the Chinese albinos into North America to help complete the building of the train lines from the United States into Canada. They were now given reservations, okay? Those reservations are the casinos today, and they were now also called native to America and told to be native Indian when they were not. This is real history. They are the ones now collecting reparations over black Americans, in which their land was taken, right? And stuff was built upon, do not have that money. And why is that? Because the leaders of black America, the Jesse Jacksons, the Malcolm X, Al Sharpton, they are all working for white supremacy. They have become the showstoppers, the celebrities. That's why nothing changes, because these people keep talking crap on TV. But what they are doing is working for white supremacy. Why? Because as we have explained, if you are in the occult as a black person, you understand that for you to have the power of Satan for success, you have to associate yourself with whiteness. That is why in Freemasonry, the color is what? Black and white. So this is how the Orientals were brought into the 1780s, and they were now given properties in everywhere that Africans who were immigrated into South America and North America had stopped working because the Vatican refused to pay them and owed them lots of money, and there was no need to continue working if you were not getting paid and promises being kept. But when they brought in the albinos in the Orientals, all right, they now paid them and gave them reservations. So that is why, for example, in the parts of northern Canada and Alaska towards that area, you have what they call Eskimos, who are Asian. They are all Chinese. So let's get into some pictures now. Who are Asians? They are all Orientals. And when we say Orient right here, we are making particular reference to Asian peoples who have the slant eye look. Let's continue with some pictures now. So the image that you're looking at is an image of the Waorani people in Ecuador who claim to be native to Ecuador. They are not. These are immigrants from the Oriental states in China, Japan, Mongolia, and the rest, which the scum of the earth albinos, anybody with straight hair who are from India, immigrated into these countries. They are not native to there. So once you look Oriental, you have that slant eye look. You are from Asia. You are from either Chinese, Japan, or any of the Oriental states in North Korea or South Korea. Because at the end of the day, everybody who's Oriental, who has that slant eye look, has a Japanese origin. That is the truth. Here's another image of the same Waorani people. They were brought in the 1780s, about 50 years after Africans were immigrated into North and South America to help building it. And when the scum of the earth, albino supremacists, refused to pay those Africans, they stopped working. They did not come on slave ships. So if you look Oriental, you are from Asia. You're not native to America anywhere. You're not native to America, you're not native Indian, you're nothing. All that was because the scum of the earth, albino supremacists, okay, paid the Asian, the Orient. Why did they pay the Oriental people and did not pay Africans? Because as we have explained, the scum of the earth, albinos, anybody with straight hair, took over the Oriental people during the Ottoman Empire and introduced inbreeding into them, and introduced also the religion of Hinduism, which is Buddhism or Buddhism, into the Orient religion, which was not a part of their culture. And the many years of the Oriental trying to keep out the scum of the earth, albinos, anybody with straight hair, they failed. The Great Wall of China could not prevent them during the Ottoman Empire. So when they took them over, the Oriental people, because of now practicing inbreeding as the scum of the earth, albinos, anybody with straight hair, now became one and the same people. So that's why when they immigrated them in the 1780s into North and South America to help with the plantations and the train line that was being built from the United States into Canada, they gave them payments. And those payments was land, which is now called Indian Reservation in the United States, where you have casinos over the Black Americans and Africans, which had worked for years and built North and South America to what it is today that they are all enjoying. Did not get any reparations. Do you see the level of wickedness that's going on? Because we are trying to show you how wicked albinism and Satan is, and the people who follow after him. So you see these people around, you see these faces a lot around. They say they are Native Americans and Native Indians. They are not native to anywhere but Asia. In China, Japan, North Korea, South Korea, and the Oriental states. This is all a lie. They were immigrated into North America in the 1780s. And let's show you that before we continue on. So from the very same webpage that we read to you, showing you the history of Chinese immigration, it says here, John Myers, voyages made in the years 1788 and 1789 from China to northwest coast of America. Can you see that? So everybody who claims to be Native Indian or Native American who has an Oriental look, they are all from Asia. They were only here in the 1700s, as we're showing you, when Africans and Black Americans stopped working for white supremacy because they were not getting paid, and everything that they was told that they were going to give to them, they did not. So they stopped. And they brought in Asians first before they brought in their own people next, which we're going to show you. And so let's read it so you can understand the reason why Orientals were brought into North America and South America. And today they have made us to believe that they are native to North America and South America as Native American or Native Indian, which is false. It says here, Chinese immigrants were originally considered an expendable source of cheap labor due to their economic depression and acceptance of debt from Canadian employers. Between 1880 and 1885, the primary work for Chinese laborers in Canada was on the Canadian Pacific Railway. This was the primary reason that the Oriental people, the people with the slant eye look, were brought into North America to help building the railways that Black Americans and African Americans stopped building because they were not getting paid. And they had no money, they had no reason to continue working if everything your employer says he or she does not do. Now, see how wicked albinos are. Anybody with straight hair, the scum of the earth. Instead of paying Black people, all right, they have covered up, they rather employ a few Black people to be the so-called celebrities, right? And your civil rights leaders to keep on perpetuating a lie. You see how wicked albinos, anybody with straight hair, are the scum of the earth? Let's continue reading. It says here, in 1788, some 120 Chinese contract laborers arrived at Nootka Sound, Vancouver Island. British fur trader John Mears recruited an initial group of 50 sailors. Who is this British fur trader? An albino, anybody with straight hair supremacists working for the Vatican. Continue saying, British fur trader John Mears recruited an initial group of 50 sailors and artisans from Canton, Guangzhou, which is China, and Macau, China, hoping to build a trading post and encourage trade in sea otter pearls between Nuka Sound and Canton. At Nuka Sound, the Chinese worker built a dockyard. He's talking about Canada now, right? A fort and a sailing ship named the Northwest America. Regarding this journey and the future prospects of Chinese settlement in colonial North America, you hear those words, colonial North America. The Chinese were on this occasion shipped as an experiment. They have generally been esteemed as hardy and industrious, as well as the ingenious race of people. They live on fish and rice and requiring low wages. Continue reading. It was actually not a matter also of economical consideration to employing them, so they were employed the same way they employed Africans and immigrated them from Africa into North America and South America to help with building those countries for something very evil which nobody has any clue about. And we're going to show you that on The Shape of a World. Why North America and South America had to be built, and why they had to build a train station from the East Coast to the West Coast of North America when no one was living. Let's continue reading. It says, and during the whole of the voyage, there was every reason to be satisfied with their services. If trading posts should be established on the American coast, a colony of these men would be a very valuable acquisition. Right? If trading posts should be established on the American coast. Now, which American coast is it talking about? It's talking about the west coast of the United States and Canada, built for a very specific reason. Oh my goodness. You people are not interested in the truth. But let's continue reading. And it says here, John Myers, voyages made in the years 1788 and 1789 from China to northwest coast of America. So therefore, the Orientals were paid over black people by the scum of the earth, albinos, anybody with straight hair, supremacists, the dirtiest, smelliest people who come from India, the cursed of the Creator, for coming from a practice of inbreeding and harboring demons, wicked to the bone and still wicked till today. Don't be carried away by any niceness by any albino. They smile at you and act nice to you. All nice people and good people are going to the lake of fire, because the commandments does not say you should be nice. It says you shall not practice wickedness, which is what they all practice against black people, even the ones they say that they love and marry and have children with. None of them have gone to their employer and say, why is this employment not hiring 50% black people, equal number, to show us that they are not racist? But as stupid black people are, they follow niceness and nice words, all right, over the actions of what the person does. And here is the so-called picture that people have been made to believe throughout the ages are Native Americans. These are not Native Americans. There are no natives to North and South America except Africans. Black Americans immigrated later. This is the obvious truth, which history will not tell you. So if anybody was to be considered to be native to North and South America, it's first of all Africans and then Black Americans. Anybody else who does not look like any of them are not native to North and South America. They are all from Asia. But these are the people who are told to us to be Native Americans. They look like Asians because they are from Asia. And the scum of the earth, albinos, anybody with straight hair supremacists, paid them, gave them reservations, gave them all the payments that they were supposed to give to black people. And why is that also? Because black people make the most population in the world. So these idiots figured out they couldn't pay all of them. If you pay all of them, what's going to happen? They become rich and powerful and subdue white supremacy. So you have to see how the intellect, all right, the wicked demonic intellect of albinos, anybody with straight hair, think. Because the African population is so large, the black population, if you pay all of them their money, all right, They become rich and powerful, and they subvert white supremacy. You don't pay all of them. You pay a few of them to control the majority. Who is the few? All the black leaders. They become rich and wealthy. The Louis Farrakhan. They get all the respect. The Malcolm X's and their children and their descendants. The Martin Luther Kings. The hip-hop artists. You pay all of them to control the majority, because if you pay the majority, they take over and become rich, and they subvert white supremacy in the ground. So that is the idea. It is for a reason. Everything happens for a reason, but the foolish will never know, because they do not do the commandments of the Creator. They will never understand how this world works. So why is all this history being kept? Because if the Vatican, the scum of the earth albino supremacists, who took over the Vatican from black people, from the black Europeans in the Romans and the rest of the Europeans, the Germans and the rest, and still maintain this history. Why would they maintain history? Because they have no reason to maintain it. First of all, they whitewashed all the images of Europe to become white when it was black. That's why, for example, you will see the Pope pay homage to the Black Madonna, which is the virgin or the womb of the divine, which all wicked black people have worshipped, which is the name of a goddess in every ethnicity all around the world, the Trinity, which the Creator said that nobody should worship, all right, which was removed in the Bible by albino supremacists in the second commandment. Even though the Europeans had already removed that because they were into that, but the albino supremacists changed so much things so that we would not know. Okay? So, but the question is, why would this history be kept that you can hear from a high priest today? Because I'm not a high priest, all right? I'm just speaking just in terms of just trying to make language here, just trying to communicate. I'm not offending any high priest out here because they've given me the opportunity to say that. But like we're saying, why is this history being kept? Because the wicked albino supremacists, anybody with straight hair, who leave all these trails for this history, have no reason to keep it. Because something greater is at work here. You know what that is? You cannot defeat the Creator. You cannot defeat blackness. That is the reason why this history is still here. Because it is written into Scripture that the dividing of the nations is going to happen. That is why the Creator said, and we read earlier to you, which a lot of people do not understand. He said, I have not come to put peace on the earth, but I have come to put a sword. He's come to put a sword, that of a man's house shall be his own enemies. The dividing of the nations, the sword is the dividing of the nations, because everybody is going to be identified based on the Gentile nation that they come from in the end times. That is why this history was kept. And the white supremacist Vatican, the albinos, anybody with straight hair scum of the earth, cannot stop it. Because as we have explained, the more Satan tries to stop, right, what was written by the Creator, the more it's going to happen. So the more he's been covering up history, the more the history is coming out, and it's going to be more violently revealed. So that's why this history has been kept. So here's another picture of which we've been told Eskimos native to places like Alaska and all the polar regions of the world, that these are the native people. These are nothing but Orientals from Asia, from Japan, China, South Korea, North Korea, Mongolia, and all the Asian states over there. They are not native to anywhere but there. They were immigrated in the 1780s. And the scum of the earth, albinos, anybody with straight hair, supremacists, the dirtiest, stinkiest, smelliest people, which have deceived the whole world to believe that they are all clean, nice, and good, right? paid these people for the work that they did in helping them to build the railway train line from the United States to Canada. That's what happened. Nothing more. And they were paid and given these lands and place to live in reservations, such that they have become known as Native American or Native Indian when they are not. They are all Asian. So do you understand why everybody is working to keep on to make sure that the lies that they have created keeps on being perpetuated? And now the only other option left, because they've run out of all options, because no matter how much they lie, the truth always comes out. The only option left now is an artificial intelligence chip, so that once you receive it, you can be remotely controlled like a zombie. Because if the truth comes out, they are all doomed. So both the wicked black leadership and the scum of the earth, albinos, anybody with straight hair, are all working together because of all the crimes they have committed to oppress humanity. That is why there has always been a one world order, because if they do not do so, the public is wicked, right? But the public will use the truth to their own benefit. That is how it works. So they all have to work together to make sure they oppress the wicked public, and by doing so, oppress the remnant, the Levitical priesthood, who will reveal all the truth from start to finish, so that there is no hiding place for any one of them to run to, and they'll all be exposed. But at the same time, when the exposure comes, the wicked public who do not know the real truth, who are still followers of Satan, will use it to their own advantage to attack the elite. So that's why all the elites are together. A bond that binds all of them together. A ring of power that binds all of them together in the worship of the Trinity. So after the Orientals were brought in the late 1700s, after Africans have stopped working in North and South America because the scum of the earth, the albinos, anybody with straight hair in the Vatican, refused to pay them. And then Orientals were brought to help to finish the job. The albinos, anybody with straight hair supremacists in the Vatican, decided now to bring in their own people in the 1850s. I want you to pay attention to the timeline, so that you should know that every albino, anybody with straight hair, the scum of the earth who are in North and South America, have only been in North and South America for less than 171 years as of the year 2021 AD, which is not the actual year, because people do not know and people do not want to understand what the real year is. So, but based on that timeline, they have been for 171 years. So the website that we're reading to you, we're not going to leave a link of this website for you. You can go look it up if you want to. That's up to you, because every time we leave a website, it crashes or things go awry and we don't get that information anymore. But we have preserved all this information regardless. Part of the preservation is making this particular DVD or video called Legends of Roll Call. So as you can see right here, it says the nightmare of indentureship for Indians in Caribbean plantations. Why? Because as we have explained, there is no such thing as slavery. Now, when we read through this article, you will see as they switch up the words, because they do not want you to understand the meaning. They'll substitute slavery for indentureship. Then they'll substitute indentureship for slavery to confuse you, because they do not want you to understand that slavery, the word slavery, as we are told and made to imagine that you can enslave someone physically, is not possible. It's never happened. And we've explained what slavery actually means. That it means that your employer controls all the choices and options you have, that you have none. The educational system of brainwashing us to believe in education so that we do not grow our own food is still part of those choices, because now people don't know how to grow their own food, so they are dependent on the wicked education, which is pseudoscience, which is used to control you, brainwash you from real knowledge. So you keep thinking you know something, but you don't know shit. You're the dumbest person in the world. So continuing on, let's read now. It says, after slavery was abolished in the British Empire. You see how these people twist words? First of all, they said indentureship. Now he switched it to slavery. Because the idea of slavery has to be written into everything to control the black population. That is the reason for that. To make them feel inferior when they are superior to the scum of the earth, albinos, anybody with straight hair of every ethnicity, whether they be Oriental or Indian, as their true origins are. Let's continue reading. It says, after slavery was abolished in the British Empire, the British found another way of getting free labor: indentured workers from India. Did you see that? Read that again. Indentured workers from India. Have you ever been told that Indians were brought to North and South America because they do not want you to understand that everybody who's an albino, anybody with straight hair, are all Indians, the scum of the earth, the dirtiest, smelliest people, whom today black people have been brainwashed to believe that they got something going on when they got shit. That's what's going on here. Now, let's show you how these people twist words, because these are of the devil. Albinos, anybody with straight hair. If you haven't heard it, hear it now today. They are of the devil. We've shown you how wicked they've been to come to a country, all right, and take it over, and don't employ the people who built the country for them to get here. And then they want to lie to you by making you believe that when they call you a nigger, that means they are racist. And they show you police brutality as being racism. And then they create Black Lives Matter. All to control your mindset from seeing that they are wicked. They refuse to hire you as a black person to give you a job. They refuse to think of you as an equal to them when they are below you. Let's read on. It says, when I heard Kanye West saying that 400 years of slavery sounded like a choice, because they always have, Kanye West is working for white supremacy. So even though we are reading all this, a lot of people are going to be thinking Kanye West is working against it. No, he's working for it, because how did he get there? How did he get to have the deals that he have and have the money that he has and the prestige and the fame and the fortune? It says, when I heard Kanye West saying that 400 years of slavery sounded like a choice, I was outraged. I couldn't believe a person of color with his level of influence would suggest that people chose to be oppressed, treated like property. So these people know they are oppressing you. Can you see that? These people know they are oppressing you. It says, and be restricted from all your rights during those centuries. He clearly doesn't know about history, and he probably missed the fact that slavery, pay attention now, continued for many more years by other names like indentured service. So did you see that? They told you the truth, that there is no such thing as slavery, but indentured service. What is indentured service? Indentured service says, I'll work now and you pay me later. So as employees today, when you go to work, for how long do you work in the United States before you get paid? You at least work for 3 weeks before you get paid for 2 weeks, right? In countries in Africa, you have to work for a month before you get paid. What does that mean? That is indentureship. When you work and you expect payment later. That was not supposed to be the case. Because when you go into a store to buy something, you pay for it before you take it out. Under normal terms of working service is pay for the work before you start working. But in indentureship, which is called slavery, you work for a designated amount of hours and time before you get paid later. So all of us are what then technically, if you want to use the word slave now, as it's been told to you that that's the true meaning of slavery, it means we are all indentured servants. Indentureship. There is no such thing as slavery as we are told. It does not exist. So let's continue reading here. I'm going to read through the bullshit of lies because a lot of people do not understand and show you the code, but show you the truth. Because all what this article is trying to preserve and show you in code for those who know, for the elite, is that albinos, anybody with straight hair, all right, the scum of the earth, who all originate from India and have lied to you and believe that they are from anywhere else in the world, all came from India into Mexico, and from Mexico, or the West Indies as it was known, because Mexico is close to the West Indies, they were now moved into everywhere else in North and South America. So continue reading. It says here, Kanye also reminded me of something, that we should never forget the unjustified and cruel acts of oppressive labor systems that force many ethnic groups to work under inhumane conditions. Now, the inhumane conditions here means that they were not getting paid for their labor. That's all what it is. So these people always write stories in which language? Continuing, it says, and not just Africans, because Africans were immigrated into North and South America first to help with the building of North and South America for a very specific purpose, which you guys don't want to know. But you will know on The Shape of a World if you get to that truth. People have no idea why they're in North and South America. Let's continue reading. It says, who were snatched away from their homelands. That's false, because as we've shown you, it's impossible for the weak ass albinos, anybody with straight hair, scum of the earth who originate from India, to be able to snatch any Africans from Africa. Because in the first place, Africans came to India and civilized the scum of the earth, albinos, anybody with straight hair, from India. And we're going to show you that later. Alright? So it's impossible for them to have come to Africa and snatched anybody. The African chiefs with their African people told the people about North and South America that there was work, they was going to get paid, and the people came to get paid. That's all what it was. So continuing, it says, or Native Americans. Native Americans is talking about black Americans who are called Native Americans. But even though the word is used in connotation, because if there's anybody really native to North and South America, it's actually Africans. But the Africans that were here in North and South America were in small numbers. The greater majority of Africans were now immigrated into North and South America in the 1700s to help with building it. All right? And as we told you, that black Americans have 3 migration stories that brought them to North America, and it's the third one that brought them to North America in the Indian Territory, which was connotated that way because they wanted to make us believe that the so-called albino scum of the earth who are from India are actually native to North America, when they are not, when they were immigrated in the 1800s, in the 1850s actually. So continue reading here. It says, who were killed and displaced in their own land. Yes, black Americans were killed and displaced in their own land to build the railway lines from the East Coast to the West Coast that passed through black American territory that we showed you earlier. They were killed and displaced, yes, to build that train line. Okay? Now, here's what you have to understand. The killing of black Americans and the removal from their own lands was helped by their own chiefs. Was made possible by their own chiefs, by their own leaders. The so-called civil rights leaders that you have today. And the black hip-hop artists who have made themselves to be celebrities by white supremacy for what their forefathers did in helping white supremacy, the scum of the earth albinos, to build that train line from the East Coast to the West Coast. Continuing on, it says, there were other groups who are often forgotten by history. Forgotten by history? You see how these people twist words. Oh my goodness. Which language? So They say forgotten by history instead of the fact that they are covering up history. You see how they twist words? They say forgotten. What did you tell us in the first place that we should forget? Because if someone forgets something, it means that he was given information and then he forgot about it. So what have they told us that we have now forgotten? If they say that it is forgotten from history. You see which language? So continuing on, it says, there were other groups who are often forgotten by history and who also suffered from the horrors of forced labor. Really? Look at the albinos, anybody with straight hair in every organization in the world. Do they look like they were forced into labor? Or they came in and were given all those places? Because you go into any establishment, you walk into McDonald's, who are the people greeting you and people who are selling the stuff for you? They are all albinos. If there's any black person who is doing any work in a McDonald's, he's most likely going to be the doorman or the person in security. Go figure. You go into Walmart, who do you see? All albinos. You go into any bank, who do you see? All albinos. Rarely anybody who's a black person who's working in any of those great places have all sold themselves to white supremacy. They sound and talk like an albino and believe in albinism that is good. That is how white supremacy, albino supremacy operates. So this is just bullshit right here by them telling you that these people were forced. They were brought in and given properties over the black people who lived there. Then written into history too. So continue reading. It says, and this is the part that I want you to pay attention to. It says, I am talking about the more than 140,000 Indians who from 1834, pay attention, to 1917 were cheated into becoming slaves for the British Empire in the Caribbean colonies, even after slavery had been abolished. So let me just ask you a question right now. They say slavery was abolished, right? And you now shipped in how many? 140,000 Indians from 1834 to 1917, which is not an actual number because they shipped more than that. And those Indians, the scum of the earth, smelly, stinking people, are the albinos, anybody with straight hair that you see of every ethnicity who claim to be Native American, Native Indian, Mexican, Hispanic, the white man, all of them, one and the same people, all from India. We're given all the properties, given everything that the blacks had built. They become the so-called owners of the plantations, the leaders, all brought in by the Vatican, their own people, to come and sit on top of what they had built using black labor. That is what happened. They finished building using black labor, then brought in the albinos, anybody with straight hair, to come sit on top of it as the owners. And today, stupid black people are going around helping their own enemies instead of asking them, give me what you took, what your forefathers took from me. Give me my payment for over 300 years that I worked for you, which I did not get payment. Pay me now. They haven't. They're sleeping with the enemy because the public, black people, are wicked too. They do not go after the commandments of the Creator. They do not know to keep it. And albino supremacy has convinced them that they know something when they know nothing. Because every time you step out of the commandments of the Creator, what you have is Satanism. And that is what happened. But here what we want to show you is the fact, so that it doesn't look like we are just talking. We'll show you again with a book not written by us that anybody with straight hair is not native to America. They are all Indians. That is the reason why the word was native Indian, to make them native to India, where they came from. So reading this again just shows you the truth of what we've been saying. That everybody who's an albino, anybody with straight hair, the scum of the earth, the cursed of the creator, the stinkiest, smelliest people who have deceived the whole world to make them believe that they are clean and healthy, instead of that they are wicked and demonic, and have brought upon us the end of the world. Because here's something you have to understand, which people do not know. Every time humanity starts inbreeding and becomes albinic, what happens? The creator comes and destroys it with a fire. So let me ask you a question now. Since you know what we're talking about and where we're heading, you might have an idea, right? In Sodom and Gomorrah, I want to ask you a question. How did the people of Sodom and Gomorrah know that two angels came to the house of Lot? How did they know that? I want you to just imagine for a second and just think about it. If you have some common sense left with the stupid brainwashing which you have believed by albinos, anybody with straight hair, supremacists, the scum of the earth have told you about Sodom and Gomorrah. I want you to imagine for a second. How did the whole community in Sodom and Gomorrah know that two angels came to town and that two angels went to the house of Lot? Figure it out. Common sense. Because the angels were black and Lot was black, and Sodom and Gomorrah were albinos, anybody with straight hair. That is how they knew. They figured out two black people came, so they must go to the house of that black man. So if you're living in a community of albinos, anybody with straight hair, it's pretty much easy to know the single black man who lives among you. That is how they figured out and knew that two black people whom they saw in Sodom and Gomorrah at the gate must have gone to the black man's house, who was Lot. Because every time the world starts getting albinic, having wickedness, because whiteness is wickedness, it's evil, is the absence of everything good, the world has to be destroyed. And right now, it is in an all-time high. Not like that the whole world is turned white, but because the mentality of every black person is soaked in wickedness, and every time you are wicked, you have involved the mentality of whiteness, of evil. So that is why the world is going to be destroyed, because now everybody has lost their way. They are all thinking as wicked people, because wicked people are albinos, anybody with straight hair. For those who do not keep the commandments of the Creator and follow after it and know His name. The mentality. Because now you have abominations arising on a very high note among black people. You have all sorts of homosexuality going on. All sorts of bestiality going on among black people now. You have all sorts of pedophilia. Like Michael Jackson, he was a pedophile on purpose to have the power of Satan. All sort of raping is going on. All sort of tattoos. All sorts of body piercings. All things from the pits of hell. So that is why the world is getting destroyed. But in Sodom and Gomorrah, they were all albino. Anybody with straight hair. That is why they could know where the two angels came who were black went to. That they went to the black man's house. Because when the world becomes albinic, it's very easy to know who's black, to identify one. So, because we always like to prove our history and what we say, so it doesn't just look like we're just talking. We want to show you from this very document that the Africans who had built North and South America with black Americans were not paid. They stopped working for white supremacy. All right? Now, when we say white supremacy here, we're talking about the black people who were employed, who were physically here, because no albino was present in North and South America until the 1800s. It was all black people organizing black people, paid by the white supremacist Vatican. Does that make sense? So let's continue reading. It says here, Well, after slavery had been abolished by the British Parliament, more than 800,000 people of African descent were now free and very unwilling to work for plantation owners in low-paid jobs. Do you see that? Because they weren't paying them well. So they stopped working. They built a train line from the East Coast to the West Coast. And if you've ever watched this movie or series called Hell on Wheels, that is what it was trying to depict. The only thing that it brought into was the fact that it was albinos who were the people who were organizing the train building, when it wasn't. If you ever watched this Eddie Murphy movie called Life, even though the movie was made in such a way to make you believe that albinos had always been around and that the people who built the train lines were actually incarcerated people or people of the penitentiary system, that was all coded in lies, not to show you that it was Africans and Black Americans who built the United States rail system, rail lines from the East Coast to the West Coast where there was nothing. For a very specific reason, which we're not going to share right now. So, Africans stopped working because they weren't getting paid for all their labors. They were given food, minimal food, and housing, but they were not paid for what they were supposed to get paid for all that work. So they stopped working. And this is what this article is trying to tell you in a coded way, because it's written by the scum of the earth, albinos, anybody with straight hair. So remember in the earlier article they told you that it was 140,000 Indians who were shipped, but this is wrong. It was not 140,000. And we're going to read and show you how they tell you the truth and tell you a lie at the same time. It says here, well, after slavery had been abolished by the British Parliament, more than 800,000 people of African descent were now free and very unwilling to work for plantation owners in low-paid jobs. This led to the recruitment of workers from East Asia, all right? East Asia, where is East Asia? It's talking about India and the Orient, the Orientals, all right? It says, most of them illiterate peasants, which led to the relocation of about 2 million Indians. Before, they told you a lie earlier, it was 140,000 here, but now they tell you the truth. 2 million albino scum of the earth. Anybody with straight hair. Indians. Origins from India to 19 British colonies. In where? North and South America. He said there they worked under inhumane conditions, long working hours, and had few to no benefits. This is all lies. It was clearly a form of legal slavery that lasted for almost 90 years. But you just told us that there was no slavery but indentured service. You see that? You see how these people tell you lies and tell you truth at the same time, and people will never understand because you're not a high priest. Not that I am. I am just reading as I am being told, because I am reading from a script. I go off script all the time, but they pardon me. But I'm just telling you that I'm not a high priest, okay? I'm not a high priest. So that is the truth. Albinos, anybody with straight hair, all come from India, and they were immigrated into North and South America in the 1850s after blacks had finished building the structures which the albino scum of the earth wanted them to build for very specific reasons. I wish I could say it, but truth is not for everybody. For those who deserve it, they'll get it. So continue reading here. We just want to show you some pictures of those albino scum of the earth Indians, the dirtiest, smelliest people who are all albinos today. Anybody with straight hair all around the world in North and South America who are worshipped, and stupid, wicked black people go licking their butts for everything instead of telling them out, calling them out for being the skunk of the earth and for oppressing humanity for this long. So it's still reading from the same article, and we just want to show you the pictures as you see right here, that these are Indians who were immigrated into North and South America in the 1830s. Now remember this, India has a caste system. So the higher people in the caste system were made to be the people who were now like the leaders. They are the so-called albino, anybody with straight hair celebrities that you have all around the world. Let's say, for example, Tom Cruise, all right? The higher caste were now made to be the leaders, all right? The middle class were made to be middle workers, and the lowest caste were now made to be the people who work the plantations, such as maybe some Mexicans that you would find today. So the higher class were made to be the leaders. They have now become the governors, the presidents of all the countries in North and South America. So you understand what's going on here now? So the pictures that they're presenting to you are the pictures of the lower caste, but that doesn't matter because they all came at the same time in the 1850s. After Africans and Black Americans had finished building the structures which they were not paid for by the albino scum of the earth people from the Vatican. All right? So these are the pictures trying to be presented to you. This is a picture of when they came in, all right, to Mexico in the West Indies, because they all touch base here in Mexico, the West Indies, Caribbean, before they moved into North and South America or wherever they ought to go. All right. So this is a picture right there. Here's another picture right there. This says Lower Caste Coolies, Port of Spain, 1897. You see, they're even showing you the date. All right, when they were brought into the Caribbean, the West Indies, and Mexico. Here is them on the ships. You've never seen this kind of pictures before anyway, because, as we have explained, because of what the wicked African leaders and Black American leaders do, the ones in Africa and the Black American leaders in the United States, and what the albino elite, all right, the scum of the earth albinos, anybody with straight hair elite and their people do. Because it's not just, all this oppression is not just possible by only the elite. As we have said, the public are the ones enforcing whatever laws the elite do. If the public refuses to enforce those laws, it will not work. So the public enforces the law. So this oppression of humanity is not just possible by the elite. It is the public who make the greater population that is possible. So all of the African leaders, all of the Black leaders, and all of the albino elites, anybody with straight hair who sit on top, who run everything, all right, the white supremacists, the scum of the earth albinos, they are all working together to keep this history hidden from you. That is why in such a movie as Endgame, which a lot of idiots sat and watched and would not know that it's talking about real history, Thanos said, as long as some of them remember what was, they will resist. So do you know what we're talking about now? So this is how history has been constructed and fabricated for us to believe and make us believe that albinos, anybody with straight hair, the scum of the earth, actually have always been native to North and South America when they were shipped into North and South America in the 1800s, 1850s actually. So any image that you see of anybody, let's say in the Amazon rainforest, telling you that they are native to those places, or the native Indian who sit on top of the casinos and reservations in North America and get paid reparations, they are all liars and deceivers. They all came into North and South America in the 1850s, less than 171 years as of the time of 2021 AD, which we are in right now. So they write them into history and make you believe that these people are native when they are not. As we have explained, if there's anybody native to North and South America, it's first of all Africans. Africans as in Africans who immigrated here. Then they were immigrated in greater numbers in the 1700s to build North and South America, despite the native population of Africans that were already here, and that Black Americans also immigrated into North America, all right? and that their immigration was not from Africa. That 3 migrations brought them to North America, and it's on the 3rd migration that they were in the United States as a nation. So the image that you're looking at right now is an image of the so-called Arawak people gathered for an audience with the Dutch governor in Paramaribo in Suriname in 1880. As you can always see, the timeline will always tell you the truth. Like we've always said, time never lies. Nobody can deceive time. Time will always tell you the truth. If a woman tells you that she is 21 years old, all right, sooner or later you're going to find out if she's really 21 years old, because time never lies. 1880, because all these people that you're looking in this picture, except for this one black man here who looks like a black man, right? The rest are all from Asia, from Southeast Asia, as in Orientals and Indians. All right, let's continue, because we have to pay some debts to some transgenders. So we have to pay a debt to some transgenders, and one of the transgenders that we're gonna pay a debt to is by the name of Rebecca Silvera. Now, Rebecca Silvera was on the show called She's Got Game, starring The Game, in which is a reality TV show trying to make the game is trying to find a woman for himself and all that kind of stuff. Like with all the money and fame that he has, that it's a problem for him to find any woman. I mean, when a man has got money, you literally can have any woman that you want. Women are at your beck and call. So the reason for these reality TV shows in which the stars, the celebrities, the so-called people that are worshipped by all the people around the world, who they have made legends out of, is not really because these celebrities or stars have a problem finding women. That's just the honest truth. All of this is to portray homosexuality, because remember, we have told you this and you need to remember it over and over and over again. There is no reason for these people to become public in your face in everything in which the television that you watch has homosexuality in it, the books, the media, the internet, and everything. There is no reason for all these wicked, abominable people like The Game, who's a homosexual, to be public on TV, social media, like you're watching right now on the screen on the show that's called She's Got Game. The reason why all of this is happening, because right now The Game is kissing on a man, as you can see right there in Rebecca Silvera. That's a man, and we're gonna show you later on. But the reason for all these celebrities coming out and homosexuality on TV is to make sure that homosexuality is preached, so that the hidden homosexual in his home can come out of the closet. This is the only reason for all these TV shows, reality TV shows, to make homosexuality to be a norm. This is the reason for all the reality TV shows, such as this one called She's Got Game, starring The Game and a bevy of supposed women who are actually males, some of them, not all of them. And at the same time, if you notice in hip-hop, there's a lot of public denigration of women. But this is not actually the case, because a man listening to that can think that that is the right and proper way to talk to a woman, by calling them all kinds of names, as hip-hop calls women all kinds of names. But when you understand, all right, that the worship of Satanism is feminism, all right, and that the practice of feminism, in which the vagina of the female goddess, of the goddess, which we'll talk about on The Shape of a World, is worshipped, all right, and that in everything that you have in American society and Western society, there's a portrayal of a woman as a goddess. So you have, for example, if someone is sailing on a boat, the boat usually has female names or ships. There is always this embodiment of the vagina of that goddess. And because this is transferred into society, right, especially in the Western world, in the United States of America, in which feminism is worshipped and masculinity is eroded, you would then get to understand that the denigration of women in hip hop, all right, is an act. The reason why all these hip hop artists who are actually homosexuals talk about women in such denigrating manner and fashion is to deceive the person, the wicked public, to think that they are playboys. Because usually masculinity always exudes a lot of confidence over women. So they're trying to make the wicked public, because it's a deception. They don't want you to see that they're promoting homosexuality. But they are promoting it because demons are attached to everything that they do. Because, like we've explained, if someone is a homosexual and writes a song, he's going to be writing that song based on the homosexual tendencies that he has. So that song is going to be carrying homosexual energy, which is transferred by demons. So when they are denigrating women on the songs and talking about them in a manner and fashion which is very, very denigrating to women, they are trying to make the onlooker not to see that they are promoting homosexuality by making themselves look like playboys, and that, you know, they can have every woman in the world and they don't really care about it. You know what I'm saying? That is what they are trying to portray to you, but it's not the truth. It's because they're all homosexuals. It's a cover for the onlooker not to know that all the people in hip hop are homosexuals. Because hip-hop in itself is the portrayal of effeminate masculine behavior, as we have shown you earlier before this, by men sagging their pants, wearing jewelry which effeminizes them. So it's got nothing to do with masculinity. So this worship of feminism, which is the actual opposition of the Creator, as we explained, because feminism, Satan went through Eve. All right, he did not go through the man in Adam. He went through Eve to get to creation. So that means Satanism, as we have explained, is feminism, because it's the opposition of masculinity. And this is what is practiced in the United States and every country in the world. So women's rights, the so-called women's rights that is being preached, is preached because of feminism, opposition to masculinity, which is the Creator. Okay? Because homosexuality is feminism. This is what people have to understand. So because of the worship of the feminine, the divine satanic worship of the feminine in the Trinity, which the Creator told everybody not to worship, which we're going to show you later in the commandments of what it actually said, the meaning of those commandments, has afforded women, especially black women in the United States of America, to think that they are men, because now you see that black women act all kind of violent like they are men. The reason why they act that way and think that they are super strong or whatever, and even men now are afraid of women, especially black women, is because the laws, the feminist attitude, the feminist mindset, which makes the woman. So for example, if you get into an argument with a woman and a woman strikes you, all right, in the United States, if the police comes, they're first going to take away the man, because the laws has promoted feminism. So the women now actually think that they have a right to hit on a man. If there were no such laws of feminism, all right, protecting feminism and emasculating men, a woman naturally is weaker than a man, biologically, physically, in everything. If there were no such laws of feminism, which is satanism, making the rights of women to be emphasized upon, when the fact is that a real man protects his woman, if that attitude and mindset did not exist, the way black women and other women act violently towards men, all right, like if they are strong or something, would not exist. Because if those laws did not exist and a woman, right, were to hit a man, a real man like me, you would best guarantee that that woman would not be normal for the rest of her life. Because if a man hits back, the woman's never going to be the same. So right now in the Western world, especially in Black America and America in general with women have now thought themselves to be, a man. They go talking around, waving their finger. They want to hit a man or whatever. They think that they're super strong, which is ridiculous. Because when you walk into a real man, you're going to know what's up. I'm not talking about all these effeminate masculine men. I'm talking about real men here who practice the commandments of the Creator. No man should hit a woman, all right? That's the first thing. If the woman is a real woman, she won't get hit by a man. But when a woman tries to act like a man, then as we've explained, a man always opposes another man. That is why Satan did not go through Adam, because he knew immediately he was going to run into opposition. So he went through Eve. So it's the same thing that's still being done today. So right now, feminism has been promoted such that manhood has been totally emasculated. And one of the reasons this has been possible is because of hip hop. So right now, let's pay our debts to Rebecca Silvera, who's actually a man. So here's Rebecca Silvera, which happened to be one of the people that the game chose to be his date or whatever. It's just terrible, the abominations these people do and show out on TV. They have no reason to be doing this on TV. If they lived their lives in the closet, all right, nobody would notice all this. But the reason why they come out and show this publicly on TV and display it on everything, on every media, is to make sure that the children of Satan who were hidden homosexuals will come out and be openly homosexual, so that those who do the commandments and keep the commandments of the Creator can see openly with their eyes and know that the stories that they've always heard, which has been turned into a fantasy about the creation of the world and the existence of a Creator who made everything and demanded of man that man should not do wickedness, that they can clearly see that this is true. So Rebecca Silvera right here, as you can see, the hip, right, is high above the crotch, because Rebecca Silvera is 100% male and not a female, as you guys would have watched on She's Got Game, starring The Game, the rapper. And here is Rebecca Silvera again. He was chosen from, I think, some sort of like competition somewhere in the Hispanic world, the scum of the earth, albinos, anybody with straight hair who think that they are Mexicans when they are actually from India, right? But Rebecca Silvera here, a scum of the earth, albino male, right, is trying to portray themselves as a woman. But as you can see right here, this is the crotch, and the highest and widest portion of the hips is above the crotch, not below it like a female, because Rebecca Silvera on She's Got Game, the game's chosen winner, all right, that he would go on a date with, is actually male. And here's the straight back all the way into the pelvis. Remember, if you've been on the channel for a long time, we always tell you that males have a P-shaped back. There's no arch in the back, and females have a C-shaped back because the pelvis is tilted forward. So the spine has to accommodate that tilt and therefore has a C-shaped spine, or S-spine as we should call it. But right here, Rebecca Silvera on She's Got Game, the game's chosen winner, all right, to be on a date with, has a straight back of a male into the pelvis. There is no arch, because Rebecca Silvera, the scum of the earth, albino male, is actually a man and not a woman, as they want you to believe. And here is a perfect example, as we always try to show you, that when you see a woman from the back, you're gonna know that this is a woman, all right? But with males, when you see them from the back, you're gonna know that it's a male. Because if this was a female, this is the bum line of Rebecca Silvera, who's a man, right? If this was female, the hip would be right around this portion. The Q angle will start right around here, just directly above the bum line. But in Rebecca Silvera's case, on She's Got Game, the winner of She's Got Game with the game, the hip-hop artist, the rapper, which a lot of people on the West Coast love his music, and everybody else around the world, and gave you such great hits as Hate It or Love It, in which it featured 50 Cent, is actually a homosexual. Because as you can see right here with Rebecca Silvera's fake, right, female form trying to make you believe that he as a male, the scum of the earth albino who come from India, all right, and have made the whole world believe that they are native to anywhere else besides being India, where their origins come from, and before that they have an origin which we are going to show you later, is actually a man. Because right here is the bum line. The Q angle, the hip, the widest portion on that hip in the body is right here, high above this bum line, because Rebecca Silvera is 100% male. And here's another picture just to show you that this hip location is high above the crotch. That's the crotch right there. Hip location is high above the crotch. And the arms are straight. They refuse to follow the contours of the body. Even with the great Photoshop that they have done to make you believe that this is actually a female, Rebecca Silvera is 100% male.